Hey, what's going on, everybody? Okay, in this episode, we are discussing brand storytelling and sales funnels, basically how you should no longer be throwing Hail Marys. Just stop throwing Hail Marys. What do I mean by stop throwing Hail Marys? Putting all of your chips inside of just one basket, hoping that that thing is going to solve the problem for you, right? That one thing is going to do everything for you. And personally, I think this is quite an inappropriate perspective of a brand film. I mean, obviously, I believe they're powerful. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it, right? But like, they're an extremely powerful tool, but they're not like a one and done. All right, now we've got our story told. Then that's going to work for us, okay? Because you still have to make sure that people actually like find your story and watch your story. How can you use and leverage your brand story to build out funnels strategically? And then, because I feel like this is where you actually get the most value out of your brand story, because we're beyond just, oh, this is a nice story, so what? Right? If it's so what, who cares? You know, that story has to do some work for you, and it has to be working while you're doing other things in an automated way, so it frees up your time, right? Like I'd say this often, but great marketing is salesmanship at scale. Okay, so in order to scale up your salesmanship, we have to understand how we're even selling to our audience in the first place. And yes, this totally applies to nonprofits because we're always selling something, right? Like to convince somebody to embrace your idea, embrace your vision, embrace your mission, is you're selling that mission and that idea to them, right? Like that. So when I'm talking about salesmanship, I'm talking about like influence, recommending, right? I'm not discussing anything where it's like we're trying to pull one up on somebody, okay? Like salesmanship is guiding someone in need to a solution, to the best possible solution that's going to solve their problems, all right? And that's ultimately what it is in my mind, all right? It's being helpful and providing the necessary guidance, support, assistance that someone needs when they're in a situation of need. Why I'm wanting to speak about this is because I've had like a few conversations over the past couple of weeks where we end up talking about this same thing. And the thing we're talking about is, what's the benefit of doing strategy first, right? Everybody's very eager to just jump into the creative because for a few reasons. One, it's fun. That's the fun stuff, all right, is doing all the creative stuff, okay? Two, it looks productive, right? It has the appearance of actually being productive because you're making something happen. And then also it's because people just don't really understand like why you actually want like a really strong strategy. So a strong strategy helps to provide focus around the creative, right? Because like I mentioned, we don't want to just be stuck with a hobby. So if we jump immediately into the creative without having a structure and a strategy underneath that, we're going to end up spinning our wheels way too much, putting way too much time and effort into things that don't necessarily matter and creating things that aren't adding true value, right? Because you can easily systematize your content production. You can easily like figure out, oh, this is my look, this is my brand look, create a few templates from that because now you've got a sense of what you're going to make. Well, now you've just freed up all of that time to focus that creativity on other things, right? Which is now, let's map out this strategic framework and build things that are going to build the business, okay? Because now that's already taken care of. We've laid that foundation. Let's put on the next layer. The other thing is, if you don't do the strategy first, what looks to be productive can ultimately be anti-productive. You can now have just invested a bunch of time, effort, and money into something that actually isn't doing anything properly for you, right? Or is potentially working against your systems or your whole process. And because you didn't take the time to really map that out, it's not doing exactly what you need it to do. So that's why creating this strategy is really important. So I'm talking about like this strategy. What is this strategy? This strategy is ultimately your customer journey, okay? Mapping out your customer journey, which really is your marketplace story of your two different brand stories that you're telling. So if you can think back, your brand story is dual layered. You have your mission story, right, which I call your authentic purpose, because it's the authentic purpose to your organization, okay? It's like the actual reason as to why that organization exists. It's not some weird, lofty, fake purpose goal to attract millennials and zillennials to get to work for you because you're trying to make them think that you do meaningful work. It's like why you actually are doing the work that you're doing and empowering everybody with that, and then inviting your customers on that journey, okay? That transformative impact that you're going to be making on the world. That's your authentic purpose. The other one is your marketplace story. This is the value that you're adding in the marketplace. This is really your customer journey story. So it's how your customers experience your product or your service. So the value you add to them, but it's from their perspective, how they experience your brand, your company. What we're doing then is that story, that marketplace story is the customer journey, right? Like that's your strategic framework. So if we just dive a little deeper into the marketplace story, your marketplace story is essentially like the customer journey is the plot of your marketplace story, okay? Because from a UI UX perspective, from a product creation perspective, a customer journey is sort of like you have Bill, and Bill has this problem. Let's say Bill needs to write something down, but he wants to be able to write down a note, but then erase that note again. He wants a cleaner chalkboard. And so you go through all the systems and all the ways in which a chalkboard affects Bill. Maybe this guy's got asthma and he hates it, or it's too dusty and he has to clean his house too much. And then you eventually arrive at the new product, which is a dry erase board. And it's awesome because not only does it give you a way of, hey, here's a clean way to ideate where it doesn't affect his asthma, but now because it's a dry erase board where we can use all different colors and Bill can just have a best time. Okay, that's a customer journey, okay? And then really the customer journey too isn't just like that story. It's how these customers find your business and how you lead them through your entire sales process, okay? Because it's how a customer journeys to and through your business, therefore gaining value, okay? The first story that I told is a kind of like a simplistic story. I would liken that to the story brand SB7, not insulting the SB7 with that simplistic comment, right? It's just more so it's like top level, right? It's you're looking at it's a sales script. Like, here's a person with a problem. Our solution can solve that problem for you, give you these benefits, and ultimately transform your life. It's awesome. That's sort of like that top tier level of the marketplace story where I said there's really kind of like two layers to it. You've got that emotional, psychological layer. That informs our sales copy and our language and our promise and our transformation. So how we speak to that person is dictated by that customer's internal arc, their internal journey that they're going on, how they're changing, how they're being frustrated internally and mentally and identity wise. Like, that's the top layer. The bottom layer is what's really important, because the bottom layer is the plot. That's the steps this person takes to actually become a customer with our company, and how they catch wind of us. Like, where are they when they catch wind with us? What's the inciting incident that starts their whole need for what we do? how do they then find us? How do we call them on this journey with us? What are the steps that we're taking them through that's getting them excited about what we do? And what ultimately pushes them over that threshold to then want to be a customer with us? That is the journey. And it's that process that we have to map out. And what is that process? That is your sales process. Okay? It is the steps that you take in order to like establish that necessary trust, so that way you convert this lead, this prospect, into a lead, then into a customer, and then into a happy customer, and hopefully a brand advocate. Okay. But for the most part, a sales funnel kind of follows those initial steps to where you get to the decision point where they actually make the decision to become your customer. So it's the AIDA process: attention, interest, decision, action. You're going to approach this from two different pathways. You're either going to approach it from, we have a sales process, we're trying to leverage that and put that at scale, or what's a sales process? Right? That's where I was within my career, is like, wait, there's a process to this. So keep in mind, like, I believe that we're habitual creatures, that every life is based on cycles, okay? And everything that we do can ultimately be reduced into a process, a system, a story, right? A plot, okay? And so what you're going to notice, and this is going to take time in order to reverse engineer your customer's journey to becoming a customer, all right? And it's kind of like having to think through, first, the first mind-blowing thing is realizing it's actually a process, okay? So that's the first thing. Like, yes, there's actually a process here. There are actual stages that someone goes through. And as they move through these stages, they are growing in their trust and in their, hopefully, their excitement of wanting to work with you, okay? And so as you bring them through, you're deepening that relationship. What you're doing is, like, you're establishing a relationship, and as that person moves through this relationship to the point where they're going to be a customer, there's a certain threshold of trust that has to be created, okay? And so what you have to do then is not just think through, well, what's the problem that I'm solving for them, but literally, what are the steps that they take as they're becoming my customer? Like, what made them want to decide to do business with me in the first place? And so it's like, it's difficult to figure this out until you've had a few experiences and encounters where someone has actually done business with you, right? And then you have to think back and try to reverse engineer that whole process. Like, what did you say, to them that like got their eyebrows lifting, right? Like what really landed with them in these meetings? How many meetings did you have, right? So like, how many meetings on average are you having with people before they land and become your customer? What are you saying in these meetings, right? Like when they first reach out to you, how did you respond to that? What information were they needing? And what information are you providing along the way that really is then pushing them over and being like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. So let's say you had like 3 meetings and you start to realize that, oh man, yeah, on average, it kind of takes about 3 meetings. Sometimes someone's ready to go and they're ready to go within the first meeting. And maybe on these longer occasions, maybe it takes like 5, but on average, you're starting to realize, oh, there's actually 3 meetings. And then you start to dig in, you realize, okay, the first call is a qualifying call, because that's when I'm determining if I can actually help them. I'm assessing their needs. I'm seeing, like, is this something that I can do, or is it something that I want to do? And is this a person that I want to serve or can serve? Okay, that's what you're figuring out in the qualifying call. Then usually you're going to have some sort of a discovery meeting where now you're trying to dig into their problems. You're trying to dig into like how exactly what exactly is the issue here? What, like, aside from the couple sentences that I've got out of the call, like, what does it really look like? And then usually you have some sort of like, maybe like a presentation thing afterwards where you're presenting some sort of a solution. That could potentially be a sales process that you lead somebody through, okay? Now, once you've mapped that journey, it's also thinking through, like, where were they even before they wanted to reach out to you? What did they see? What made them even want to reach out to you? And what you're trying to map is you're trying to map these specific stages along this process that leads somebody to become your customer. And as they're going through that process, they're having this awareness of, this growing awareness and growing trust of, this is the person to help me find this solution, or help me solve this problem, or this is the product that I need to help me solve this problem, okay? That's your customer journey, all right? It's your customer's journey to you, which ultimately is your sales process. This is going to take a few times going through this to refine it, because at first it's probably going to, if you've not done this, at first it's going to feel like you're making some assumptions, but that's okay. But once you have that process mapped, okay, now what you want to do is you want to put that process at scale. You want to leverage that entire journey and create content and create a funnel that essentially parallels this motion. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to get that person to trust as fast as possible, okay? Like, you're trying to condense this whole journey, or you're trying to streamline the journey so that way you can provide needed and necessary materials at the appropriate times to your customers, to your prospects, to your leads, okay? So if you understand that this is a pattern, and across this pattern, these people are usually asking these sets of questions at this stage, or they need to see this piece of information at this stage, that helps you understand, okay, these are the content pieces that I need to put in place. And if you know it super well, you might actually be able to automate the entire process, and that is the creation of your funnel. Now, a funnel is essentially like a sequence. Usually it's a digital marketing sequence that a potential lead will go through in order to get on your email list or purchase your offer. A pretty easy example of what a funnel is say it's an ad and when you click that ad leads you to a splash page or a lead page, okay? Which on that splash page is some sort of call to action, and then that you either purchase that offer. So it's like ad, page, purchase. That's a really basic sales funnel, okay? More complex sales funnel would be something like, say you've got an ad on Instagram, click that ad leads you to a splash page, which will have maybe a sales letter on that splash page, which will have the initial maybe offer that you're supposed to get there. That splash page will be followed by a follow-up message that will provide an upsell, okay? Maybe you've provided your email address. That triggers a 4 to 10 email sequence, okay? And as you're building out that email sequence also leads you back to that offer that was the initial upsell in the first place. So it could look something like that, where it's a bit more elaborate. But in each of those emails, what you're essentially providing is the information at the different stages, okay? So this is what I mean, where as you're building this funnel, this is more of a plan. This is more of a strategy, because this actually parallels what actually happens in your business. So you don't want to just like make up a funnel and hope that it works. This is what I mean. Like you want to build this off of repeated data that you've seen over and over again, that this follows your actual sales system, but you've now put this at scale. Okay. So it's a parallel to what is already working within your business. You're just leveraging what already works and making it work for you so you don't have to be doing this all the time, right? So that's the benefit, is you're putting your sales process at scale. That's marketing with salesmanship at scale. You can use this with a brand film. So this is why it's like, if you have a brand film and you're using a brand film inside of a funnel, now you're really leveraging the full value of that, because after people watch these things, they want to do something. They are compelled, they are inspired, they are engaged. That emotional depth has been activated in them, and they're ready. They're ready to go do something. So what if at the end of your brand film, there's a pop-up call to action with a button that you can click right in the screen? I know that Vimeo allows you to do this. There's probably other video marketing platforms that allow you this. I think Wistia too, where you can immediately click that button. That button sends you to a landing page, right? Where now maybe there's a sign up, or maybe that landing page is immediately where someone can donate, okay, or purchase a product, right? So you've got like the video that can send them to a landing page. You can either that's the purchase point right there, that's the donation point right there, or maybe you collect email through there, and now they're inside of a funnel. That's far better than making a film and putting it on your website and hoping that people see it. It's highly unlikely that many people will actually see the film that way, because now we're just being way too passive about what we're doing. Granted, there's certain pieces of content that you are designed for that sole purpose. What I'm talking about is what I mentioned at the beginning, is when you're throwing a Hail Mary, right? Like, you can't just treat a single piece of content as a Hail Mary, especially if there's no strategy about how to get that in front of people so it does the work that it's supposed to do. But if you place it inside of a funnel and you build an entire funnel around it, and that funnel is a parallel to what already works within your business, well, now you're really leveraging your story on multiple different tiers. The video is your story, it's communicating your story, but the whole journey they're going through that funnel is their story. It's following their natural steps. So everything's going to feel natural to them. It's going to feel like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. How did they know that I wanted to know this? This is exactly what I wanted to know, right? That is super powerful. All right, hope this was helpful to you guys. As always, if you have any questions, you can reach me at McNabbStorytelling.com. You can also find me on Twitter or Instagram at Storytelligent, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.